Hello and welcome to Just One More Watch. Welcome today to my review of a new model Citizen diver that is chunky but funky. And a credit for this one has to go out to a relatively local subscriber, Will from Wollongong. He sent me an email a couple of weeks ago saying he had spotted this one in his local high street jeweller, half price. Did I want to borrow it? He was going to head in and try it on first before he committed to purchase. Before I could say, yes please Will, he sent me a second email saying he tried it on and it didn't fit him properly. But me being an idiot, I couldn't resist a half price watch, so I bought one anyway. If you're in Oz, they still have a few of these available, half price $350. Though perhaps I should clarify, that's half the high street retailer price. They are available online from Sakura Watches direct from Japan for $269 USD. I'll leave links to both of those in the description of the video. So that's today's question then. Is this watch too thick? Is there such a thing as too thick? I hear some guys like it thick. Or is it more about lug to lug, diameter, dimension, how a watch wears, rather than getting fixated about that one figure? Let's flip the camera and find out. Alright, as you saw from the video title and from my intro there, this is a JDM watch available from Sakura, from Seiya, and from various other outlets, but I also managed to snag it from a local high street shopping mall type jeweler here in Australia. Do bear in mind the warranty that you get will vary depending on where you buy it from. If you buy it from Japan, you'll get a 1-year standard international warranty. If you buy it from a local retailer, you will get a local warranty, which is invariably better than the 1 year. Here in Australia, I get a 5-year warranty. I say it every time I review a Citizen, that is outstanding. You need to go to Tudor or Omega or even beyond that to get a better warranty. Here we are in a budget watch, less than $300 US. That is fantastic. Great to see a company that really backs its products. Model number of this one, by the way, is the NYO25-83A, featuring a caliber 8204. Yeah, okay, it may have a big warranty, but it's got an 8000 series in the back of it. But at half price and looking this good, I can forgive a lot, including the Miyota 8000 series. This thing looks fantastic. This is a case shape that I haven't really seen from Citizen before. It is far more reminiscent of the 62 mass style of Seiko's. No attempt to cushion, no attempt to hug the wrist, as you'll see in the side profile shot in just a minute or two. It's got those slightly elongated lugs and the flat end links there, the way they connect to the case, just like the 62 mass and all of the other Seikos that have been released, aping the look of the 62 mass, homaging it in recent years. And I think a good set of dimensions. They haven't gone smaller than 40, they've gone bigger than 40, 41mm in diameter, but are you ready? Wait for it. 14mm thick. Now 14mm in itself is not enormous. I've reviewed plenty of dive watches bigger than that, but it's all case. It's all bezel, it's all case back. It is not the crystal. The crystal actually is recessed into that bezel, and not a lot of curvature here to those slightly long lug to lug. It is a 50.5mm lug to lug, 20mm lug width, tapering down to 18, back up to 20 at the clasp. Sized up for me, 7-inch wrist, just what you'd expect from a 41. It weighs in at 161 grams. And unlike a lot of other kind of retro black and gilt style watches that I've reviewed on the channel recently, this one is all brushed. No polished surfaces anywhere on this watch at all, which I always appreciate. I think there's enough bling here for most people with that bright gold coated bezel. Unguarded vintage style crown, of course, 200 meters of water resistant screw down crown. Now this is ISO rated. It is a diver's 200 meters. That is ISO 6425 therefore. And while we're talking technical specifications, there's also a degree of anti-magnetism here. It complies with Japanese JIS B7024 anti-magnetic standard. It can be called an anti-magnetic watch. Do bear in mind though, that's only actually 60 Gauss. So don't be standing next to the speakers at a Metallica concert with this one. Just don't do that generally, actually. Now, for a big brand Japanese dive watch costing less than $300, I was not expecting miracles from this bracelet. Actually, it's alright, it has exceeded my expectations today. Solid end links, no rattle from them, which is pretty good. Solid links, now, it looks like 3-link Oyster style, but it isn't. They are single links that have been machined to look like 3 links, so a bit of a disappointment there. Pin and collar system, I had no problem sizing this one up to get it to fit. Now the clasp, it is a ratcheting diver's extension style clasp. Not entirely unexpected or out of place given that this is a Divers ISO certified rated watch, but it is quite long. At least it has a nice fold over there with the Citizen logo stamped in there. Double security pushers and a proper and very pleasantly milled undersurface. No micro adjust holes though, but they do provide half links on both sides, so 2 half links, meaning chances are you're gonna get quite a decent fit with this one, which is good because you'll need it given how thick that watch head is. Bezel action is a standout 60 click, unidirectional. Oh, very, very nice. Very satisfying, no backplay, no bounce, everything lines up perfectly. That, however, is a double domed mineral crystal. You only get mineral crystal. I guess, again, big brand Japanese dive watch, less than $300. I shouldn't have expected any better, neither should you. I knew what I was getting when I bought this one, and I bought it anyway. Case back is screw-on stainless steel and very, very simple. Just printed on there with Citizen, Divers Watch 200 meters, stainless steel, and advertising that magnetic resistance. Japanese movement, but there was a little sticker there when I bought it saying cased in China and service center repair only. I don't mind seeing that on an Eco Drive. One of these though, any watchmaker worth their salt could repair or more than likely just replace the movement behind it. That movement, as discussed, is a Miyota 8204 because Citizen own Miyota. If you're buying a Citizen for under $300, chances are it will contain one of these 8000 series Miyotas. 21 jewel hacking and hand winding. This is one of the newer versions of the 8000 series, so it does indeed hack. The previous ones did not, which was a bugbear of many. My bugbear with this one is that it only winds in one direction. The 8000 series, there is always a noticeable spinning and clicking noise coming from your wrist, even in this thick and chunky dive style case. 40-hour power reserve on these, stated tolerances of -20 to +40 seconds per day variance. This one's doing okay for itself, coming in somewhere between +5 and +10 with a healthy amplitude and a reasonable beat error for a brand new watch. It's a good looking watch though. I reckon that is the best looking Citizen ProMaster I have reviewed by some margin, but then again I am a total sucker for the black and gilt look, but they've done it really, really well. Citizen logo printed on beneath that oversized triangle at 12, the ProMaster logo, automatic, Divers, the all-important apostrophe, 200 meters, printed above the large rectangular baton at 6. There's another big one at 9, smaller rectangular batons everywhere else, and a little truncated rectangle at the 3 o'clock, alongside a framed day-date complication. I'm a big fan of day dates on a watch. You may as well, really, if you're going to put a date, you may as well put a day also. And I love the fact that they have gone to the trouble of colour matching. It can't have been much trouble given that Citizen own Miyota. They can just specify whatever colour of day and date wheel they like. But I've lost count of the number of times I've seen a watch with an in-house movement where they don't bother matching the date wheel to the dial. And interesting to see a Citizen with a Mercedes handset, or at least a Mercedes hour hand anyway. Semi-skeletonized there, but with a more typical ProMaster minute hand and lollipop second hand. There is a printed minute track with third of a minute markers also printed around the outer edge, aluminium bezel insert with lume pip, the lume pip being recessed into the bezel, meaning it is unlikely to fade and tarnish with time, but you may end up with bits of rubbish in there, so it's a 50-50 really, that one. Zoomed right in, my macro lens sometimes reveals horrible things on budget watches, but not so in the case of the Citizen. The hands are nice and neat, no rough edges there, everything's crisply printed, indices applied well, printing done well also. Now, black and gold is an increasingly common way to ape that retro look of the past, and I've reviewed dozens of black and gold tone watches on the channel. Most of the time it looks pretty good, some of the time depending on the angle it can look very good, and sometimes, you just catch it perfectly. The hands, the indices just pop. Black and gold looks fantastic. Can't see the black and gold after that though. All you can see is this lume on the hands and the indices, and thankfully it is pretty good as well. Citizen use their own proprietary lume. Sometimes they use a pale blue colour. This time I'm delighted to see they have gone more traditional. They've used that darker green old radium style lume. When I turn the speed up, it's holding its own even when we get towards the end of the 20 minutes. You're always pretty much guaranteed a reasonable level of lume with a Japanese dive watch. This one doesn't disappoint. But is it too thick? How does it wear on my average size 7-inch wrist? Well, It wears okay. I mean, look at how thick that bezel is. Not a lot of curvature from the mid case and a protruding case back. I would have loved it had it been a mil slimmer, perhaps even a mil and a half slimmer. And yeah, none of that thickness is crystal as discussed, but it doesn't wear too badly. Look, it's not going to be a watch that is sympathetic to smaller than average wrists, I don't think, because 50 and a half lug to lug, male end link here, and yeah, as I said, the whole head of the watch not really doing any favours in terms of conforming to the wrist, but it's not too bad assuming that you wear it reasonably tight. I think the long clasp actually helps here, helps balance out the weight a little bit and helps with the length. You get a nice piece of clasp balancing it out and making sure that it sits where you left it. Overhead legibility is pretty good. If you catch those hands and indexes at the right angle, they really do pop, but they are still pretty legible from most other angles, at least under these lights anyway. But let's take it outside natural light and let's segue into the moans and niggles section a little bit earlier than usual today. Yeah, check that. When I point this one at the sun, you can't see the dial at all. I'm not sure how much, if any, anti-reflective coating is on that mineral crystal. It really doesn't do the watch any favours outside natural light, I'm afraid to report. And it's the same on wrist as well. I'm afraid it is just overwhelmed by Sydney's not very sunny sunshine today, which suggests that if it was actually sunny, you'd have no chance of getting a good read on this one. Looking down the wrist, once again, you can see just how tall this watch sits on me. Most of it is that big, thick gold bezel. A little bit of a gap underneath those lug ends, also suggesting that it could have been more hugging to the wrist if they had designed it that way. And the pocket shot to finish, once again, quite difficult to see what time it is because of the bounce back from that mineral crystal. So that then is my biggest single moan about this watch. Yeah. Piece of crystal, you don't get a lot of that delicious retro distortion, you just get a lot of slightly unusable bounce back under certain light conditions, unfortunately. And the clasp is pretty good, considering this is a sub $300 US Japanese big brand dive watch, but I'm just not a massive fan of these ratcheting extension divers clasps, especially not when they come at the expense of micro adjustment. Half lengths are okay, but they are no substitute for a decent level of micro adjustment. Plus, I've got to be consistent. I can't give Clements a hard time for making a nice elongated case 50s 60s retro style dive watch in black and gilt and putting a big chunky diver's extension clasp on it, and not give Citizen a hard time for doing the same thing. So is it too thick? No, I don't think so. I think it wears pretty much as you'd expect that 62 mass case size and shape to wear. That's not to say I wouldn't have been happier if they shaved a mil or two off, but I'm not going to complain, especially not at the price I paid. Half price, this thing is an absolute bargain if you're buying it domestically with that warranty coverage. If you're buying it from overseas for less than $300, it is also an absolute bargain. Have a look around, see what you can get from Citizen or Orient for less than $300. I don't think there's anything quite as attractive as this, and if there is, I'd love to hear about it. So there you have it, the Citizen ProMaster then. Definitely well worth a look if you can find one at the right price. Just don't expect a wrist hugger or something that slips neatly under a cuff. Citizen definitely know how to make a great diving watch though. Why not check out a couple of previous reviews while you're here. Thanks for watching. See you again.